Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 76 of the Parenting Autism Podcast. You can find us on the web at www.parentingautismshow.com or through email at parentingautism@att.net. And today is a new day, Sandy.
Yes,
how are you today?
I'm good, honey.
Good.
I'm good. I just feel like, again, time is going by so quickly. It's November 14th. This year is almost done. This month is halfway through. And weeks have gone by since we got to sit down and do this again. But it's not a bad thing. It's just a busy thing, and I'm sure everybody can relate to that. But I do feel like we have a lot to just update on, as we always do. Mm-hmm. And I feel like sometimes I want to get behind this microphone so that I don't feel like I'm repeating everything that I've already said to you and other people, to the audience, but there's stuff to share. And I do want to say that Bryce is doing really well in so many ways, and we keep saying that, and you keep pointing it out to me. And when I say he's doing really well, he's doing well with his behaviors, but he's doing well with his language and communicating and adding more details. That's really what you've been pointing out to me, yes?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know if you notice it when he elaborates on something, so I want to make sure that you see it.
Which I'm glad you do.
So sometimes you probably miss it, but I want to go back to your first comment about time flying by.
Yeah.
And so my little nugget today is going to be, time is important. It's not something that we get back. It's important in the journey of autism as much as it is that we need to do what's most important during our day, that we don't waste any of it.
Well, I think you and I even mentioned the last time we were on this podcast, so we were looking at our schedules and trying to make more absolute yes, absolute no's, and what was changing. And we have made some changes, and we are trying to figure out the best way to spend our time, to be intentional with it, and what our priorities are. For us personally, spiritually, autism, parenting, there's so many things to factor in there. And it really is one of those things that I don't want to just keep saying, oh, I'm so busy. I don't need to be busy. I want to be intentional. Intentional is a really good word. And that's probably going to roll that into 2022.
Right on.
For sure.
Right on.
So, I think we have been a little bit better about that. And actually, we did have one major change. And honestly, I don't remember if it was before the last podcast that we did. But I know that you had specifically talked to me about equine therapy. So forgive me if this is a repeat, but I think it's important to share these kind of things. So you had said, on just my schedule and what should we be doing and what should we not be doing and what's really important. And we try to weigh it out. Like, is it important for Bryce? Is it not important for Bryce? Is it good for us? And Bryce's education is obviously a high priority. And when we have therapies that interrupt the middle of the day, sometimes it's hard for you to do school on a day if he has therapy in the morning, especially when he has therapy again in the afternoon for other things.
Right.
So, I know that was something that come up, but I do feel like there's benefits to Bryce being at the ranch. Probably benefits that we don't even recognize, but I think it's good for him in many ways.
Yeah, I think our conversation went something like, is he still benefiting from equine therapy?
Yeah.
Because we started out, he was deathly afraid of horses. And he quickly, I would say within a few months of equine therapy, he got used to being around horses. And then it progressed from there. He was able to groom them. Then he was up on the saddle. So we got to the point where he was up on the saddle and trotting, and I'm like, okay, well, where do we really go from here? How much OT can we do? I was just, I was trying to weigh whether we should take it off the schedule in lieu of getting more schooling done.
Right.
Or, it's a balancing act.
Well, and it is a couple of hours of your time because it's 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, and then an hour. So it's a 2-hour slot. Mm-hmm. And we have to look at everything that we're doing and saying, is it beneficial? I mean, yes, it has been, but does it continue to be? So, Bryce is to the point that he can share some input now, which is helpful.
Yeah.
We have to kind of read through it because sometimes if he thinks it's taking away from something he would prefer to be doing, like a video game or something, he might say, oh, no, I don't want to go. But no, we really want to know, does he enjoy it? Does he not? So we talked about it, and I said, well, then let's just pray about it, because I really, talking about being intentional, I've really been convicted that I probably take on more trying to figure out if I should do something or not than really going to God about it. And he wants to know the big things and the little things. So I'm like, let's just really pray about it, and let's see if we're supposed to. And it was, I think, within 2 days that we got notification that his equine therapist was going to be moving, the one that he'd been working with. And she was leaving to California, and it was going to be in 2 weeks. And so it was really kind of an abrupt change. So I said, well, and they said we won't be able to do it on Tuesdays anymore. And I go, well, there's your answer. And I said, if he's supposed to continue to do this, I will take him on Saturday mornings, because I wouldn't mind going to the ranch. I find it peaceful. It's nice for me. We're getting into our cooler weather. And then I can observe and kind of see how Bryce does there. So I said, if they're able to put us on the Saturday schedule, then I'll know that we're supposed to continue. And then they came back and said, yes, we can get you in on this exactly when I needed, Saturday at 11:30. I'm like, perfect. Okay, then let's continue. So I got to take him yesterday. And he said on the way there something about it wasn't good for him. And I said, why? And he said, because my eyes get very itchy. And I said, okay, well.
He said that last time.
And we know that he's allergic to the hay. So we had already said if he's going to continue, he is not to go into the barn. So I told him, well, you don't have to go in the barn. We're going to stay outside. And I think that's what makes your eyes itchy. But if it makes your eyes itchy to be around the animals, then you just have to let me know. Okay. And I said, is there any other reason why you don't want to go today? No. I said, okay, then I think we'll be okay. So we got there, and he actually has somebody new working with him yesterday that we've met like one other time. She was super nice. And she was doing something kind of like working on pretend with him. So she had this magnet lunchbox. Well, I call it like a lunchbox. A magnet display that opened up, like a case, I should say it that way. And then he could choose how he wanted the barn to look. And then they had magnetic animals that he was doing. And then she had him like walk through the course without an animal first, go get something he got to choose. And he chose a horse and came back and put it on in the barn. And he was really getting into the imagination. He goes, I think I will put the tractor here so it can cut the grass, and I will put the horse over here so he can eat the grass, right? So it was really good, and they're working on something that's obviously more than just about the animals.
Yeah.
And then she said, okay, well, now we're going to go get Rio, and you can walk him through. And then he says, I can't do that. And she's like, you can't do what? He goes, I can't go in the barn. And then he's looking at me. And he didn't tell her why. And I said, well, we've learned that he's allergic to the hay and it makes his eyes itch. She goes, oh, well, thank you for telling me that. I'll go get Rio. Because she had said Rio's in there eating his hay. So she brought him out, and that was great. And then he walked him through. And then there was a point when they got Rio back near me. Rio started eating the grass, and Bryce just thought that was the funniest thing. And he was jumping up and down and doing his little happy flap, and he really enjoyed it. It was a beautiful day. And now they have goats there, which I enjoyed. That was so cute. I'd only seen pictures. So he went over to the goats and then, feeding them. And then The mule is not an animal. It's like a four-wheeler thing that Miss Christie normally takes him a ride for. And so Miss Miriam wasn't familiar with it, and she's kind of nervous about driving it. And Bryce says, I will help you. I will help you drive the mule. I know how. And so she's looking at me, and I go, he probably really does. And so he did. He showed her how to turn it on. He showed her the gas and the brake pedal. He showed her the gears, how to take it off the emergency brake. Like he knew the whole drill. And so then she goes, I can't wait to tell Miss Christie that I got my first mule driving lesson from you, Bryce. And she told me he really did help me. I mean, I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. So it was really cute.
Yeah.
And he had a great time. And I was happy that we went. And it gave you extra time to do other things. And you do have a heavy schedule during the week with him. So I just loved how we prayed about it. And then God just shifted it.
Yeah.
And now I can go and I can observe and be a part of that. And, we made the commitment through the end of the year, and then we'll kind of see how things go from there. But that's kind of where we're at in life right now, is like, what is really important, and what are priorities, and what are we doing in our evenings during the day. And I think we're going to keep everything in place. He's taking drum lessons now.
And he's getting really good.
He's getting really good at it, and he enjoys that so much.
Yeah.
And, so he gets his drum lesson, and then he gets his music therapy, which Mr. Tom's so impressed with how well he's doing. And it's two different approaches, which is great. One's truly teaching him about the instrument, while Mr. Tom with the music therapy kind of gets Bryce more imagination and engaging in conversations and getting Bryce to be thinking about other things,
and
while incorporating music. Yep. Yeah. So I love that we're giving him all of these different things and opportunities and stuff. So
I have to give a shout out to the Special Java Cafe, because Bryce, when we were trying to reconfigure our schedule, I made a list of all the therapies that he attends, and activities, that we do on a regular basis. And he listed the Special Java Cafe as number 1, and that's where we go Wednesday mornings to play instruments in a band type of setting with other special needs kids, mostly with Down syndrome, and they're older. They're in their 20s, and I don't even know how I heard about it, but I'm so glad I did, because their goal is to. The owner said that her daughter was aging out of other things, and she just didn't know what to do for her, so she thought of this Special Java Cafe where they could learn skills, life skills, and also do music. And Bryce loves playing music in their band, and they're getting ready to do a Christmas program with a couple of Christmas songs that's coming up, so that's going to be awesome. And once Miss Joanne saw that Bryce liked the cash register, she showed him what buttons to push to open the drawer. And every time we go, it's $5. So I'm the first one to pay Bryce. He goes and rings it up. And then he'll give me change if I give him more than $5. And then he'll say, who else is ready to pay? And it's really cute. And Miss Joanne says, you're hired. You're a good recruiter for people to pay. So it's a little sidebar there, but it's one of the highlights of his week for sure. It is.
And that's what we're just trying to, find these opportunities for him. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of segues into some of the things that we've done the past couple of weeks, kind of putting my feet into new waters, trying to figure out activities for Bryce, because again, we talk about social, and my perspective on that is changing a little bit. And I don't think Bryce's issues are going to be, or as present speaking, I don't think his issue is much about wanting to be social or being around other people. The problem with Bryce is the environments that he's in and finding the right setting for him that's not going to create anxiety and reactions for him. And that is the challenge. Getting him to go and interact with people is really not that difficult, because Bryce is fairly sociable.
You want people that are going to accept him for who he is, and you also want an environment that's not going to produce a meltdown. So,
well, it's true, and that's not easy to attain if you're trying to get him into a setting with kids that are his age. Mm-hmm. And so I took him out of our safe space 2 times in less than 1 week. And I think I'm still feeling a little bad about that. But it was the timing. And so the first one was a planned birthday party. And so we have not taken Bryce to many birthday parties.
Did we talk about that?
I don't think we talked about it because I have it on my notes. We didn't get there. It had just happened.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But so anyway, so this is one of his really good friends, and she's amazing with him. And she's 2 years older than him, so she was turning 10. And I knew we were going to take him to the party, and he had told me that he was nervous about going. And then they said, well, it was the happy birthday. And I said, well, they'll tell us, when it's time to sing happy birthday, and we'll leave the room. Okay, no problem. So I thought it was planned okay, but really I didn't even realize it was going to be a dance party. So when I got to the place, I thought it was going to be a party at her house, and that's shame on me for not paying more attention, but I really just thought it was okay. So we got there, and they had the disco ball, and he was dancing and everything. And actually, he was a little afraid to go in. Maybe I did talk about this a little bit, but I don't think I did talk about it. Again, this is where I forget who all I've talked to, but this is a pretty big deal. So he did really great going in. He danced with his little friend, and she had a few friends on the dance floor with her. There were a lot of adults. And I would say he had danced for about an hour. And I was even sending you videos because you had stayed home. And
I was surprised. I was like, wow, he's having a good time.
Yeah,
out
and
on
you're
the
like,
dance
I
floor.
love this.
Yes.
I'm like, me too. This is great. We were so happy. And everything was really going great. And then they have one of those group songs where everybody goes, and like the adults and everything. It was that one that's like to the left, to the right, And so anyway, I was up on the dance floor with them, and everybody's doing the motions. And then when they got done, a natural thing that happens is people clap and cheer when the song's done, and somebody even whistled. And those were triggers for Bryce because he doesn't like unplanned clapping, cheering, and definitely not whistles. And he fell to the floor. And it was probably the part that breaks my heart the most. I still think about it. He's like down on the floor, but he's looking up at me, and he's just screaming at the top of his lungs repeatedly. And so I just got down by him, and I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't know they were going to do that. Now, Bryce he's big now. I mean, he's 4 feet tall, and he's more than 4 feet tall. And I just can't lift him up and remove him from a space like I used to. So you have to be able to come up with the right words that's going to get him to move. I can't tell you what those words were, but something I said worked. And I think I was just like, if I can get you out of here, buddy, it'll be better. Let's leave now so, you don't have to hear it. And everybody had stopped at this point. And honestly, I couldn't tell you what the other adults and stuff were thinking because I wasn't focused there. I was 100% focused on Bryce. But I got him out of the room into the lobby area, and that calmed him to where he wasn't screaming anymore. But then he just kept saying, why did they do that? Why did they do that? And then Cassidy and her mommy came out, and of course her mom felt terrible. I'm like, hey, this is the risk we take when we bring him out to places like this. It's nobody's fault. And he did great for an hour. I said, let's focus on that. He did great for an hour at this party, and Cassidy came out, and she's like, Bryce, I'm so sorry. Can I get you some candy? And Bryce is like, no, I don't eat candy. It destroys my teeth, because we taught him that. So it was really sweet. She's like, okay. And I'm like, let me just get your picture. Let's give him a hug. And we got out of there. And the good news was when we got him home, he didn't really dwell on it. He told you about it. And he talks a lot in gaming terms. And he told me that he powered down. That's what he told me. When they did that, I powered down, and I need to recharge. So he laid in his room for probably 10, 15 minutes. And he was calm, and then he came out, and he didn't bring it up again. And he hasn't really brought it up since then, which is surprising. So he recovered from that fairly well, but it was still, to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't protect him from all of these things. If I take him out into a public setting, I can't control that. But we talked to his behavior tech, Miss Melanie, and I said, what I really want to focus on here is teaching him the proper way to react, because it's going to happen. I can't change how he feels. I can't change what scares him. I can't change that he has anxiety. I mean, his wiring is his wiring, but what we can try to do is try to teach him new ways how to process his emotions and his behaviors when he does get in that type of situation, that he'll learn not to fall and then scream, but that he'll learn that I can leave the room, or to tell me, Mommy, I need to leave, not just run away. So that was like on Saturday. And then on the following Wednesday, I had wanted to take him to Awana, which is kind of, it's a group of kids he was in the kindergarten to second grade. And so he was with his age group, which was good. And that was all fine. I reached out to the church that we were going to and got the schedule in advance. So I knew what was going to happen. I knew there would be music in the beginning, and then a story, and then game time. And then they do their books where they learn Bible verses and they get rewards. So I had that much planned out, and it was pajama night. So he got to wear his Animal Crossing pajamas, which actually prompted conversation opportunities, because there was more than one person that said, oh, I like your pajamas. Who's your favorite villager? Which he didn't know that they were called villagers. I'm like, who's your favorite person on the island? So I'd kind of help him through that. And, it was good. And he was nervous about going in with the music. So we said, you don't have to go in. And Miss Melanie went with us too. So we were in the lobby, and he had his headphones. We let him put them on when he wanted to. The story time was long, and listen, all the kids were fidgety. And Bryce just kind of sat there, but a lot of the kids would get up, and there were probably, if I'm going to guess, 20 to 25 kids in the room with him. And the teacher did her best to keep them engaged. Listen, I've been a teacher in those settings, and it's not easy to keep all the kids engaged. And she had to do this one thing where she kind of counted down. She did like a shh sound, and then they count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 backwards to get the kids quiet. And the kids kind of count along with them. And there were some other things that the kids did that I guess they do every week. And some things are loud, some things are not loud. Of course, they're unpredictable. But I felt like he handled it okay. And then we got to the game time, and it was musical chairs, which he's never played before. But he understood the concept well enough, and he really, really enjoyed that because he loves running and he loves racing, and winning. And he didn't win every time, but he did pretty good that he got to stay in the race, And I was so happy for him for that. So I thought that went well. Then we broke down even to the smaller groups, because the first breakdown was like kindergarten to second grade. And then it was just second graders. So we took him in that classroom, and it started to freak him out because it was a school classroom. And so Bryce hold on one moment. Here's Bryce. Hey, buddy.
Look.
Hey, what's up?
Look, there's the elevator.
There it is.
Look, do you see it raining outside? There's thundering and everything.
Okay. Can you show me this later after I do the podcast? Would that be okay? I
Bryce,
see it.
you want to say hi to everybody?
It's going to the basement one.
Okay. Thank you.
It's fun.
Shut the door, please.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bryce is trying to sell me on this Luigi Haunted Mansion game, so he's trying to show me all the reasons why he should get it, which involves an elevator. But anyway, okay, so we get there, and we go into a school classroom. And during the daytime, it is a school classroom. So Bryce saw desks, the chairs, the school setting, and it freaked him out. And he's like, oh, no, this is not good for me. This is not good for me. And I'm like, it's okay. It's not a real school. And it's so funny because our last podcast, you and I were talking at the end, and I was saying how he repeats things over and over again. You're like, no, he doesn't do that. And I'm like, yeah, he does. And you're like, no, just that one thing, and it's over it. And I'm like, so anyway, we get into the classroom and he's like, I told him, I said, this is a pretend classroom. And then he knows the word fake because he knows real and fake. So I said, well, at nighttime, it's a fake classroom. And at daytime, it's a real classroom. But at nighttime, they don't do fire drills and they don't do the things that you found to be dangerous. It's okay. The desks are still here, but we're not even sitting at the desk and there's no teacher here. So you're okay. It's not school. It's fake school. So he kept saying, so it's fake it. It's a fake school. It's not a real school. It's a fake school. Yep. It's a fake school. It's not a real school. It's a fake school. He just kept trying to reassure himself of that and process that. So we'd get him off of that, and then they had a reward if he learned a Bible verse, and he was all over that, and he wanted to memorize it like right there, and he did, and he got his reward for that. And again, he was very nervous about the school thing, but I thought I got him through that by the daytime and the nighttime and the real and the fake. So honestly, I thought that we did great. In fact, his former Cub Scout den leader, she was there with her son who was in our class. So Bryce really didn't remember him, but I know the boy remembered Bryce. And so she's like, how did it go? And I said, it went surprisingly well. And she's like, you sound surprised. I go, well, because I kind of am. I thought there would be more issues, but I felt like I had a victory. So she's like, well, that's great. And so we walk out, and Miss Molly, who is like the leader there that I had gotten in touch with before, she says, okay, bye, Bryce. And he says, wait, why did you say that? And so she walked back and she goes, I just said, bye, Bryce. And he's like, no, not that. Why did you say shh? And she's like, what? And then he started tearing up and he goes, you made me cry a little bit when you said shh. I was not talking very well. And she's like, why? Only you talking about when I told everyone to be quiet? I said, in the countdown. So she's like, well, I have to do that because the kids are so loud. And the only way I can get them to be quiet so they can hear me is to count down like that. And so he said again, but I wasn't talking very well. And we're all kind of looking at each other, trying to figure out where he's coming from. I'm like, you weren't talking very loud. Right. I wasn't talking very loud. And so she's like, well, you weren't in trouble. I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the other kids. So it was really hard for him to process that. But I was so proud of him for speaking up and saying that to her, right? And so we probably 5 to 10 minutes stood there and talked it out with her. And then she left, finally. And no, he wanted to be in control, and we really talked it all out. And, I said, well, maybe when you're older, you can go up on the stage with her. So anyway, we kind of wrapped it up, and he wasn't about to cry anymore. But even Melanie was like, I didn't see that. And I said, I didn't either. I would have totally missed that had he not said what was bothering him. So, which I guess the good part of this is he did not drop to the ground and scream when they did the shushing, because really that could have happened. And he didn't. He controlled it, and he waited until he had an opportunity, and it was the right opportunity to address it and to question it. So for that, I am grateful. But I haven't gotten him to go back since because he's scared to go back. And I'm really torn how much I should push for him to go, or if I should just respect that this isn't great for him. And I told you, I feel like there's a tug of war between my heart and my brain and my mind, because there's this part of me that knows if I am not able to help him get into these situations and process his emotions and his behaviors, it's going to really limit the number of opportunities that he's going to have to socialize as he gets older. But I also don't want to push him to do something that he's truly not comfortable doing if it's not something that he absolutely needs to do in life. And that's kind of where I'm at on that. And I've been torn. Do you have any input on that? I know I've been talking, but I kind of took him there and knew the experience.
Well, the way I see it is the track that we're on now with his gains and his supplementation, things are kind of simmering down with him. He's using more words, more adjectives, more conjunctions, and I think biologically, if we get his body working right, he will be less sensitive to things like that. Just as we've seen him behaviors improve, I believe that he will.
Do you think that's going to be because he's going to be more cognitive and more like have the ability to process his emotions better?
For instance, he says that those types of things hurt his ears. And sometimes it's not even a loud noise. It's a type of sound.
You're right.
So we know that that affects him. But if we can get his body working correctly and better at processing, then yeah, I believe that in the future he'll be able to tolerate that better.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's my take.
Okay, so then do you think we should wait and present these opportunities to him later?
Maybe next year, yeah.
And see if maybe he does better next year?
It's like when the doctor told us about his stimming, the brain's firing, but the signal's landing in the wrong part of his brain. So it goes to his motor instead of his inner excitement. It goes to his motor, which is movement. Yeah. So if we can get that to go where it's supposed to go, other things will fall in place, I think. That's just one example of how the brain is not working quite right, so.
Well, I know his brain's not working quite right.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that.
Well, I think he's getting better.
Well, I think he's getting better in many ways as far as like his language and stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We're just in the beginning of this, I think. Okay. The improvements that we're seeing. I'm very excited. I'm very encouraged for how well he's able to communicate. Like I said, even with that situation with Awana, the fact that he could talk to Molly about that was huge. But then fast forward to 3 days later, or the next week, I should say, it was the following week, I pick him up from therapy, and when they brought him out to the car, she's like, he might be upset. It just happened in the last 10 minutes. He did good prior to that, but he fell to the floor twice because there was a little girl that was really loud, and one of the therapists said, shh. Yep. Which is a trigger word for Bryce. And of course they don't know that, you know. And so he thought he was getting in trouble again, and so he fell to the floor, and he had a good bruise from it. And when I talked to him about it, I said, why did you fall to the floor, buddy? Why would you do that? And he said, well, I wanted to run away, but I couldn't leave the room. So his first instinct was escape. And then his second instinct was fall. So we came home that day. It must have been a Wednesday because Melanie was here when we got home. And so I explained to her with Bryce present, what happened. And I said, maybe we can teach Bryce other ways to handle that, like to use his words and say, I wasn't talking, I'm not in trouble. And that's okay. If that's what you feel like you need to say, then say that. Say, I wasn't talking. I wasn't loud. Use those words, right? So we kind of drilled that home to him and told him that's what he should do. And so it was this past week that I picked him up again. And apparently there was another little girl at therapy that was excited and loud. And Those little girls. And they said, she's just really happy. She's just loud. And I said, I understand. But for Bryce, it was a trigger. And then instead of, he knew that she was being too loud. So before a therapist could shush her, he did it. He took the control and he told her, shh, you're too loud. And he was really proud of himself for doing that. And I praised him for that because I don't have a problem that he did that. He used his words. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about his mind thinking better. I know. To where, I can use that shush. It doesn't have to affect me. I can affect other people. Well, and I think, these supplements and diet change we've done for him is big, but you also have to add to that formula the therapy, the talk, all of those things. So we talked about that. We can send him to therapies
7 days a week if we wanted to, but if his brain isn't taking in the information, then what good is the therapy doing?
Right.
Where I feel like now we're getting his gut cleaned out. We're getting, his brain working. He's not in the fog as much. He is definitely responding to us faster with answers to our questions, which is big. And we're seeing all of that. So now I feel like when we do take the time to explain those things to him, it's not like talking to a wall. It's like talking to someone that's actually receiving that information, processing the information, and then using that information as well. So, yeah. So, those are some things that have been happening, but, it's just going out into the real world and figuring that out. So I didn't push any more on Awana. I did get the calendar. I showed him the fun things they were doing. He's like, maybe we'll go to the Christmas party. Like, he thought that one sounded fun, but I don't know. I think maybe, like you said, especially because I know that it's large crowd, and it's definitely harder for him, the larger number of people that are in an environment. Like, we were invited to go to a fall festival last night. It all sounded great on paper. Oh, a great family night out. And then they started telling us all the things they would be doing. And I was like, no, I can't push him. I can't push him to do that.
Yeah. I have a can't deal with it level. And so every time you mention something that's going on there, ding, well, they're doing this, ding, 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 all the way up to the top of okay, I'm not going to deal with all that.
Yeah. And they're like, he'll have hay rides. We're like, he's allergic to hay.
Ding.
Oh, they're going to be shooting pumpkins with BB guns. Yeah,
Ding.
we can't do that. And we're like, yeah.
They're going to have bounce
How many
houses.
people are going to
Ding.
be there? Oh, the whole church and the school. Yeah,
Ding.
that would be hundreds of people. Thank you. But no, thank you, because
I'd rather have a peaceful evening.
it would be stressful and what would Bryce get out of it? I don't think he would get enough out of that. So we got to start smaller and then get larger. So I've been doing the playground the last 3 weekends. It's been beautiful weather here, and that's working out well. You asked me how it went out the playground today, and I said, well, we're going to do the podcast. I'll tell you. So we meet friends that we know. So that's good. So I don't take him there and then he doesn't know anybody. We've been meeting friends there. And so his little best friend, Michael, that we've mentioned several times, him and his mommy and Michael's little brother met us there, which was great. But there were other kids there today, and the kids do play nice. And I could see that they were wanting to play tag and different things. And so at one point, I went over to where the kids were, and Bryce was actually doing Simon Says, and he was wanting to be Simon. And so I thought, well, and I even said, well, this is a great game for him because he gets to be in control. So he had the kids on the bench, and he was saying, Simon Says, stand up. Then they'd all stand up. And then he'd try to think of the next thing. But then he got sidetracked and said, do you have Switch? He goes to one of his other topics. So then he lost them. But I was like, okay, well, that was good, because Simon Says is one of the games that I was trying to teach him so that he could understand how it works. And then they were all, it's kind of like a tower castle that is where they're playing at this playground. So they're up high on another level is what I'm trying to say, up the stairs. And so the kids were up there, and a little girl had started crying. And I'm almost positive that somebody stepped on her fingers, but it wasn't Bryce, because he was far enough away that I know it wasn't him. In fact, only thing Bryce was doing was talking to this other little girl because she was dangling off the edge, and he told her it was dangerous, and he was worried about her. So I was watching all this go down, and then the little girl started crying, and her mom went and got her. And then Bryce walked over to this other section of it and was doing something else. So the kids follow him over, and it was the big sister of the little girl that was crying. So I tuned in, and she's saying, I think you made her sad. And she's telling Bryce this.
Oh, no.
And she's like, I think you made her sad. You made her cry. And then Bryce is just doesn't even know what to say. And so he's looking at me and smiling, and he's like, do you see me, Mommy? And he's like looking through this peek hole thing that's up there. And so he's ignoring what they're saying because he really didn't do anything. And they're saying, you made her cry. Why did you, so then I had to pipe up, and I said, why do you think he made her cry? And I said, well, what did he say to make her cry? She says, I don't know. I said, well, what did he do to make her sad? I don't know. I said, well, did you hear him say something? No. Did you see him do something? No. But he walked over here. I said, he walked over here to play with this toy. I said, but the only I was watching, and the only thing he said was to that little girl, and I pointed to her, and I said, because he told her it was dangerous what she was doing. And that little girl goes, yeah, that's what he said to me. And so then that little girl said, I think you might have stepped on her fingers, to the sister. And then she's like, oh. And I said, so he really didn't do anything. And she's like, oh, okay. And then the mom said, come here. And then the mom called that sister over, which that mom was not the friendliest mom in the park. We'll just say it that way. So I thought, that's where I just give grace. And I'm like, if a mom can't get it, I don't care. But more importantly, I'm going to make sure that Bryce doesn't get pinned for doing something because he can't defend himself, you know. But I really could let it go. And Bryce was oblivious to it. And then him and Michael just started playing again. But it does make me, again, so aware that if I were to leave him independently playing without being there to help him when he needs that help, it would not be favorable for him. You know? So anyway, but we really had a good day. It's just, again, I get these reminders when I go out outside of my safe space, but it's okay. But on a positive, like really happy note, I wanted to share these couple of things we hadn't shared. So, well, the segue into this isn't happy. So my grandmother passed away. She was 99, and I know we talked about going up and seeing her for her 99th birthday on the podcast. And so, it was just time. Her body just finally gave up. But my mom, I took my mom up to Indiana to go to the funeral, and you and Bryce stayed with my dad 24/7 because, again, we didn't want him to be by himself. But during that time, and Dad had 3 good days while you're with him, so we're very grateful for that. And so while we were gone, Dad told me, because Dad was so excited to tell me on the phone that Bryce walked in and Dad was reading his Bible. And so then him and Bryce started having a conversation, and then Dad asked him about, have you had asked Jesus into your heart? And then Bryce wanted to know what that meant. And then Dad told him. And so then Bryce said the prayer to ask Jesus into his heart with my dad, which was, my dad was so, so, so excited, and it's not that I'm not excited because I am, but it was just like a special moment for my dad. Of course, I understand Bryce understands some things. He doesn't understand all things, but he understands good and bad. And he understands that God watches him. And, if you told him what he needed to do to go to heaven, he's going to do that because that's what he wants to do. And he's a great rule follower. And that's a beautiful thing. And the Bible says, have childlike faith. And if we could all have more faith like Bryce and not question things, there'd be a lot more of us going to heaven, So it was really sweet and very exciting. And I don't know how much Bryce understands anyway, but again, I know he understands enough that his little soul is secure. In my mind, I have no doubt. So it was cute because then when we came home, he said to you, he did talk about it a little bit, and when Dad tried to get him to talk about it with me, Bryce might have said 2 things and then he went to another topic, which is what Bryce does, and it's okay. But he does think about it. And then he said to you, Daddy, when did you add Jesus to your heart? Which I thought was so cute that he calls it, I added Jesus to my heart, not asked Jesus into my heart. But we do add Jesus to our life, when we accept the Lord. So he says, Daddy, when did you add Jesus to your heart? How old were you? And what did you tell him?
I told him it was 20 years ago. So I would have been 32.
Yep. And he goes, well, why did you add Jesus to your heart?
Yep. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I knew that I needed Jesus because the way my life was going, I needed Jesus in the front driver's seat instead of Daddy.
There you go. So he listened to all that, and he says, Mommy, how old were you when you added Jesus to your heart? I said, well, I was 9 years old, and you were 8 years old. And he's like, oh. So it was really sweet. He's thinking about that. When we walked out of church today, he said, Jesus is watching me. He was watching me dance because they are doing the dance party. So, we just...
Well, tell him what he said the other night.
I'm going to tell him that. Yeah. I was going to say, and so we just want Bryce to just have enough understanding that God is here and God loves him, God watches over him, and that Jesus is God's son because he's starting to understand parent relationships, and that Jesus loves him and watches over him and will help him. And so we've been telling him that. So that we do pray with him. I try to do it every night. In fact, the other night you were tucking him into bed and I heard him say, "Daddy, you can't leave. You didn't pray with me yet." So he wants us to pray with him. And I will usually say to him, "Bryce, can I pray for you now?" Because I know he has to kind of calm down and ask all his questions. And then he'll say yes. So it was just me and him that night in the bed. And I said, "Can I pray for you now?" And he said, "Yes." So my prayer is usually, "Dear Heavenly Father, I pray for Bryce tonight as he goes to sleep, and I pray you put your angels of protection around him. I pray you'll give him good dreams and no belly aches, and that you help him have a good night's sleep so we can have a fun day tomorrow. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen." So he knows that prayer. So we got done praying. He said, "Mommy, God talked to me while you were praying." And I said, "He did? What did he say?" He said, "Thank you for praying. I'll go get the angels now." Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow.
That was pretty special.
That was very special. And so I had forgot to tell you about that. And then a couple of nights later, because we fell asleep before you came in that night. Mm-hmm. And then when I said, "Bryce, can you tell Daddy what God told you the other night?" He, without hesitation, told you that exact same thing. It's like he knew. And I really believe God spoke to him.
Yeah.
So,
that was special.
These are the gifts that, we never even knew if we would hear Bryce talk, and now we're hearing Bryce tell us how God's talking to him and what God's saying to him. So it's been pretty special
good
around
stuff.
here. Yeah, it has been really good. Like I said, we've had the bumps, taking him out in the real world. We have to use our parental judgment and instincts and prayer. I keep saying about prayer because these are the things I do pray about. Give us wisdom, give us guidance, make it clear. I love it when we put out there, should he stay in equine on Tuesdays? And then God says, let me just take that off the plate for you. You don't have to make that decision. I'll make it for you. Mm-hmm. And, I just feel like if we continue to lean into the Lord and ask him to guide us, then he's going to continue to help us make these decisions. Oh, and Awana, that was the other thing. So I said, I don't know what I should do. And you're like, well, what are we going to do? Are we keeping it on the schedule? Can I take it off the schedule? And, you're pressure me about that schedule. And I said, I don't know. I'm going to pray about it. And you're like, well, how will you know? I said, I will know. God will tell me. That was, I think, on Tuesday. The next day, I get a text from Miss Melanie. And she said, I just got my school schedule for January. And they're switching my school nights to Monday and Wednesday. So we'll have to get together on different nights. Well, Wednesday is Awana night, and the whole plan was we were going to do it on a night when Melanie was available. And I knew that's when God said, nope, not this season, because I'm going to close that door and take that off of you. And maybe next year it will be better. So, we tried Cub Scouts last year. We were going to try Awana this year. It's not the right time. We'll try something else. Mm-hmm. And like you were pointing out, and I appreciate you sharing that because we really hadn't talked in depth about this. But you're right. I think we're doing a lot of positive changes for him physically that's going to help him mentally and emotionally, that maybe this time next year we can give it another whirl and he might be ready to do that on a bigger scale. I think right now I want to keep trying on smaller scales.
Right.
And get those baby steps and help him learn how to use his words and control his emotions.
He was dancing in church this morning, and that's just
he's so
6
happy
months
there.
ago he wouldn't have done that.
No, because of the loud. Right, he wouldn't have gone in that room.
Yeah. And when they say it's a dance party, he's dancing.
Yeah.
He's
and he feels safe. There are barriers in there. They keep him in the back. He's not in the middle among all the kids. And the day he had 3 people with him, 3 buddies, and he was so happy. And I told you when we walked out of the service, I'm like, wow, it was very heartwarming for me as his mommy to see 3 people there waiting for him to love on him so that we could go into the church service.
Yeah.
That's such a gift for
special.
us. It was very special. And to see his reaction, he just lit up.
Oh, yeah.
And he was so excited to see all those people there waiting for him and to love on him.
Yeah.
So it's pretty special. Now, would we ever just put him right into that classroom? No, there's no way he could just go right in there. But God has provided us some tools until Bryce can do it on his own. So, well, that's pretty much the notes I have today.
That's all the headlines?
That's all my headlines.
Let's bring him in and see if we can have a conversation.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay, let me get him.
What do I want to talk about?
I don't know. Let's talk about something. What would you like to talk about?
Okay, let's sit so you can sit and put your mouth closer to the microphone.
Yeah. Oh, don't touch it.
Nope.
Right?
Okay, ready?
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
So, I play Roblox.
Oh, okay.
So,
What about Roblox?
what is Roblox, Bryce?
Roblox is about fun.
It's about fun, but what is it? Do you know what it is?
I don't know.
Is it a book? Is it a TV show? What is it?
It's an iPad.
And it's an iPad what?
I don't know what's the...
Is it a game?
It's a game.
There you
Yeah.
go. So say Roblox is an iPad game.
Yep. So what do you play on Roblox? What kind of place is it?
It's...
What does it have on it?
What's your favorite thing to do on Roblox?
Play the games on there.
And what kind of games does it have?
Elevator HQ.
There it is, elevators. And that's why you love it so much.
Okay. So what other games are you playing right now? Oh, you were just watching a video. What was that about?
What game are you trying to tell me that you want so badly?
Luigi's Mansion.
Luigi's
Yeah.
Mansion?
Luigi's Mansion.
What about that mansion? What kind of mansion is it?
Haunted
A
Mansion.
haunted mansion. And Mommy's afraid you're going to be too scared, aren't I? Am I scared?
What's your favorite thing about Luigi's Mansion?
What's the best part? Don't touch that.
The best part is the elevator.
Oh, you like elevators, don't you?
Yeah, we got a theme going here.
You like elevators, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you like about elevators, Bryce?
Going up.
You like to go up?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you like about the elevators?
Like to press the button.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I like the door opening and closing.
Oh, good. Those are cool things.
What do you like about Daddy's school? What's your favorite things to do?
Learn
Learn about what?
anything.
Yeah? What
Do you
have,
like
what
math?
have we been learning about?
Oh, like math.
What have we been learning about?
I think you gotta be a little more specific for
Where?
him, honey.
I don't know.
You trying? Okay.
What do you think, bud? What have we been learning about in Daddy's school?
I've been learning about math.
Yeah, what kind of math?
Math facts
Math facts? Addition or subtraction?
and subtraction.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing. 2-digit subtraction so far.
Math subtraction.
Yep.
Yeah. What's 10 minus 8?
10 minus 8 equals 2.
Oh,
Yep.
very good.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye, that's it.
Are you all done?
wait.
Hold on, guys.
Tell
Got
'em-
one more.
Tell them who's teaching you drum lessons.
Mr. Bruno.
And where's Mr. Bruno play drums?
Mr. Bruno plays the drums at the church.
Yeah.
isn't
Wow,
that
that was
cool?
divine intervention.
Now listen. What do you like about playing the drums? What's your favorite part?
Hit to the drum.
You like hitting them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like the snare drum the best?
Yeah.
Or the... What other kind of drums are there?
There's the bass drum, the cymbals,
Oh, yeah.
the snare.
And what's
Oh, a hi-hat. Yeah, which one do you like the best?
the hi-hat?
You do like the hi-hat? All right.
Oh, you
Until
gonna
you're
do a
fidgeting.
beat? Here, tell us a beat.
Oh,
He was doing a beat just now.
okay.
Yeah. What's the cymbal sound like?
That's good.
That sound like a crash.
I like
Yay.
that. All right.
All right.
We'll let you go. Tell them bye.
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 Okay. Thanks for coming.
You can talk. Can I have a crackers?
Yep, we're
You can have
wrapping up.
crackers.
I'll get you some crackers.
Okay.
All right. Well, I know you're trying to get him to elaborate more,
Sure.
but he's hard
got
on
a lot
the
of
spot.
it on his mind right now.
Listen, I thought we
Yeah.
did great with that.
Yeah.
And you can hear that he's he's just
more with it.
Doing really great. Yeah.
All right. Till next time. If you think about it, tell a friend about our show. If you think you have a friend with someone with autism that we could help with that, that would enjoy our journey, please share it with them. And if you don't want to do that, maybe leave us a review online.
We would appreciate that.
Yep.
We'll check in again soon.
See ya.
Okay, bye.
Bye.